Well, hey, YouTube world. Hey, world. Welcome back to the RC Air Experience podcast. This is episode or video or podcast number 2. And this is a fun one, The Wives of RC.
Yep. So I'm Anthony from FPV Builds. That's John from the lighter side of RC. I am joined by my beautiful, talented wife, Jackie, and John is joined by
my beautiful, talented, and very sexy wife, Katie.
Exactly. This episode is sponsored by men sleeping on couches all over the place, and depending on how this episode goes tonight, we may be joining you. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Awesome.
You know, when we were talking about this episode, I thought this episode would be a great idea, and John also concurred. It's one thing, like, we have friends in the hobby and we get to see their point of view, but it's something else to get the wives' point of view on what it's like to be married to somebody who's just completely overtaken by this hobby, right? Like,
yeah.
Between us with the YouTube stuff, you have your building and you do that, and your store, and it's a lot, right? So yeah. I just thought it'd be a great idea to have the wives on and kind of get their perspective on what this was all about.
Sounds good. We may disagree with that thought by the end of this, but we'll see where it goes. Right?
It's very, very true. Very, very true. Maybe the worst idea ever, but we're going totally with it. For better or worse, till death do us part. That's it.
So how long have you guys been married?
It's funny. We were going to ask you that too. So we're going on. We don't really carry. Yeah, we don't really count we count the marriage anniversary, but we've
been together for 10 years.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. We had a baby and everything before we got married, and we had a great little wedding in upstate New York and everything like that. But our together anniversary is the one that we really
go by. So
yeah.
Like 10 years. Yeah.
Cool.
What about you guys?
We've been, I guess, married now for
get it right.
Today, we're 2023, so that's 22 years we've been married.
Wow.
We met when we were 15, so we've actually been, I guess, together for that would have been 1995.
Wow.
So 27 years.
Wow. I don't know what the math is.
Something like that. 27 years we've been together. So we're high school sweethearts. That whole typical story. So yeah, it's been more time together than apart. That's for sure. So
that is awesome.
That is really cool. That's funny because you both look really young. So
I use moisturizer.
It's crazy.
Glad it's finally working.
It's crazy how fast it goes, right? Like,
yeah, it really is for sure.
I felt like time kind of, I wouldn't say move slowly, but it never went as fast as it did when I was married and had kids. Like, I feel like it's just going by. And
yeah, I found the older I get, the quicker it goes too. So.
Right. I guess we're probably around the same age range. I'm early 40s.
Yeah, I'm
43.
I just turned 42.
No.
Yeah.
44. Sorry, I just turned 44.
He's taking years off. He's going backwards. Yeah, I just turned 43 in October. So yeah. We're about the same age range, same generation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So.
And you have how many kids?
We have two.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Do you guys have kids?
3 daughters. So they're the next question is how old they are. They're 19, 16, 14?
19, 17,
14.
And 14.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're all they were born 3 years apart, right? 2003, 6, 9. So they're kind of all in that.
Okay.
It's easy.
That's
easy to figure
wow.
Our
That's
oldest will be
full
20 in like a couple weeks.
Oh,
yeah, it's we had kids when I guess we're fairly young compared to
25.
people now, but they're I guess tying into some of the RC stuff is, you go back 12 years ago when I first started getting into RC stuff, it was a lot more difficult than it was now. I have a friend that actually doesn't fly anymore because he's got young kids, and it's so hard to manage, right? And at that time, Katie was super busy with work and life and stuff, and you're trying to deal with kids and life, and it's just so hard to fit it in. So
yeah,
it's a lot easier when they get older. So
I have that going on with a friend right now, and he's actually. It's funny because he'll probably end up watching this episode, so I'll speak lightly. He he lives down the block, and he flew an FPV drone over my head, and I was looking for the drone, so I drove around looking to see who was flying it because
Yeah.
not too many people do that, right? And one flew right over
Yeah.
my head at like 100 miles per hour, and we're in a congested area. I'm like, I gotta find this guy. But he's in that time frame right now where
Whereas
he's
kids are really little and he can't
right.
fly as much
It's
as
hard.
He wants.
He's got 2 young kids, and it's like I get it because I was there as well. You know, my kids are now 10 and 8, so I have a little bit more time now, especially with school and homework and hobbies and
Their
extra
own thing.
right
They're like their
extracurricular activities. So, but it's still hard to manage.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's still hard to get out, and I try. I'm changing it a little bit. I try to do 1 full day of flying, like a month on a normal like schedule, and that's like load up my truck with as many planes as I can, charge 30 or 40 batteries, and go to the field from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. and just make a full day out of it.
Yeah.
Now because of the YouTube thing and everything, I'm trying to now just shoot over to the local field or someplace for an hour or 2 and get in a bunch of flights, get in a bunch of packs, film some stuff, and then do it that ways.
Yeah, when I used to do it more of I guess more what I would consider just the hobby end of things, it was somewhat similar. Like I remember trying to just figure out a balance between us of like going out let's say a Saturday, not going out the weekend after, and then just trying to balance that out. That's something we struggled with a lot initially. Like I know Katie would get very frustrated if I went flying 2 weekends in a row, as an example. So it was initially like this would have been 10 years ago, I guess, maybe, right? Like 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. The kids were a lot younger and stuff. So there was actually a lot of arguments about that type of thing. But it's changed a lot now because it's so much, for me, it's so much more of a business.
Right.
When I go down to, for example, Montana Jets in June, sure, it's a ton of fun for a week, but you're going down there to deliver planes to clients, to video flights, all these maiden flights that you've built up the planes for the entire winter. So it truly is work.
Right.
And I'm down there just ripping all over the place, fixing stuff, videoing stuff. So it's changed a lot. The dynamics for me has changed a lot. So
now, Katie, how involved are you in that? Do you travel with him when he goes to places? Are you still working? You have a full-time job still?
Well, I've always been my own boss, so I work from home.
Oh, nice.
Had a bakery. We still have a bakery in the house, like a licensed commercial kitchen.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Right now we're actually I'm kind of moving away from baking and going into boozy ice cream.
Okay.
So we just started a company.
Really cool.
Boozy ice cream?
Boozy ice cream.
Did I hear that right?
It's like
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's big in the States. I went down to Florida and learned how to make ice cream about 7 years ago.
Wow.
And just haven't done anything with it. So now it's kind of coming back around, and it's time to to do something with it.
One of the things that blew me away with it is, so you have to get permits, obviously, through what we call our local AGLC, which is Alberta Gaming and Liquor Commission. It's so out there that they have no idea what to classify it as.
Here they have no idea. They're like, is it a drink? Is it like something
So she was
else?
supposed to open 3
have...
months ago now, I think.
Yeah.
And we're probably, I think you're opening like December 7th.
Yeah.
So finally it's opening, but it's taken that long to finally find the niche, because you're dealing with government people that it doesn't fit in the boxes. So what do we do, right?
Oh,
so,
now baking, I give you a lot of credit for, right? Because that's a hard living, right? You're waking up. From what I know from bakers, they wake up really early. It's kind of a lot of work. Is that?
I do the cakes and stuff. So like Cake Boss.
Okay.
Okay.
Stuff. So the part that I'm still doing is like bundt cakes. So I have an order this week that I'm just finishing for 300 of these cakes. They're, I don't know, this big.
So I know, and we talked about this the first episode. I watched the first episode. I watched the first video I watched of John's was the L39 video, and you were kind of in the background, and I think you were filming that one. Are you still involved like that? Do you still film a bunch of stuff, or are you kind of more hands off now?
It depends. Like when I probably help him at least once a day.
So one
Doing
of the
something.
questions that Anthony asked previously
Okay.
before we got about the
Do
bakery
that?
stuff.
Yeah.
You travel
Once
with
a
me.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to travel with him depending on where he's going.
Yeah.
Once a day, huh?
Okay.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
usually in
No.
here either filming or helping take a picture or moving something in the shop or helping
Yeah.
do
Just
something
doing
with the plane
something.
just to get an extra set of hands, right?
Part of the issue is when things get so big, like I'm working on the SU-30 right now. I mean, the plane is like 12 feet long.
Yeah.
You can't, like, you just physically can't move it by yourself. So
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the guy that I was talking about that has like the huge jets. That,
Yeah.
Like, yeah. He's,
And this
But-
one's that's not even the biggest one that's
No.
coming.
yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
So I'm taking notes because, Jackie is my loving wife and she does support me and help me. But like, we made an agreement for like help. So do you guys have an agreement? Like, Katie, what do you get out of this? Is it just helping your husband or?
Just helping.
So Jackie will
Oh,
give
she's
you
nice.
the contact information after the call.
You can send me a contract.
She'll teach you how to work out a contract that benefits you as well. No,
nice.
she does. She helps me, but
He always tells me that shopping on Amazon is not a hobby. So if I help him, then I get a shop on Amazon. And he appreciate me for that.
That's a good
Yes.
perk. That's a good one.
it is.
Yeah, she does get to take my my debit Visa card and use that on a regular basis. So maybe that's a perk.
Oh no, wait. That's to go and do stuff for him,
Well,
not
exactly.
for me.
Usually a couple extra receipts come home. So
No.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so true, though. Yeah, that's great. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, I got into the hobby. Well, I got back into RC probably like 2015, 2016-ish, and I started out with like DJI drones. And I started doing some commercial work with them. And we actually, like, she was on a small set of a rap video with me. We were on another small film set doing like an independent Star Wars film. So she's gotten to be involved in a couple of cool things, like, because of it. Have you gotten to experience anything like that, Katie, where we've been in things like we never thought that we would do because of drones, like.
Well, we went to Kentucky Jets 2 years
We
ago.
did go to Kentucky Jets. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We just got back from California
Yep.
in
Oh, that's awesome.
October.
Yeah, the end of October, we
End
went
of
to
October.
California. So we went down to California to fix a plane for one of my clients down there. And then while we were down there, we got to go to Disneyland and I went to the flying field with him one day as well too. And so there's cool stuff like that. I guess
That's awesome. No,
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that
The
is
travel and all of that and seeing things. That's cool.
Right.
I mean, those are for probably at least over the past couple of years, those have probably been the biggest, most fun perks.
Yeah.
Also the people we meet too, like through my YouTube channel. Like I know that if I went to Australia right now, I'd have somewhere to stay. As an
Oh,
example.
that's cool.
That's really
Yeah,
You know,
that's awesome.
when we go to Montana, one of my good friends down there, Kelly, he's like, you know where your guys' bedroom is? Like it's like that's the kind of relationship we're
awesome.
developing. So
Yeah.
so it's pretty neat to have those relationships.
that's really cool.
That's one of our dream visit states. is
Montana.
What's that? Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's on the opposite side.
Yeah.
My
It's-
bucket list. Like I want to go there so bad.
Yeah.
It's a lot like Alberta for us. Like when we go to Montana, it's basically the same thing, like same mentality of people. The scenery is very much the same. So
Where they
it's
live is
pretty
gorgeous.
awesome.
I'm sure.
It's only a 5-hour drive for like we
Really?
were talking- to Montana, like to Kalispell. It's only
Wow.
a 5-hour drive for us from here, but we've got the like the mountains and
Yeah, the mountains
Rocky
for us are
Mountain
about 40 minutes to the west. So
So it's like, is it directly
So are you,
south?
southwest a little bit, yeah,
Okay,
but
Jeff?
basically directly south.
No, are they like in Big Sky also? Like,
They live in
Is-
Alberta, Canada.
okay,
So they're
that's like all right.
yeah. They live
That's
in a
awesome.
really
Yeah,
gorgeous,
like,
wide open.
like
Most people
scenery.
know Banff, right? So that's like Banff is 40 minutes west of us. So
Yeah, they live in a really nice
That's-
area. The area we're dreaming
love it.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Well, you
we
can come up here anytime
Yeah.
for a visit.
absolutely.
we are looking at different states. We're always like, I just want, like I told you on the first episode, my dream is be 70 in a rocking chair and have a runway in front of my house that I'm flying off
Yeah.
of. You know what I mean? Like, that's my retirement dream. I don't know.
Yeah.
The
New
wide
York
open
isn't the greatest
space.
place. Yeah.
Space. That's
Yeah.
it. Just space and
So where
country,
we
that's what I
live
want. It's
now, 20 years ago, was pretty open, and like if you drove half an hour out east towards the Hamptons, you always hear about the Hamptons and like Montauk, right? Those are famous places. That's all flat and farmland out there. But over the past 20 years, Long Island has just gotten so built up. Like where we lived, people considered like the sticks like 20
Yeah.
years ago. And now there's no space. They built on
it's just
everything.
congested.
It's like traffic to go to the store. That's 5 minutes away. It's not, it's
Not fun.
no,
No.
it's so bad. And that's why we're like, we want to leave
I just want the
eventually.
country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Small town.
She's got a really cool job. So I always tell everybody she's got a manlier job than I do because she plays with. I work from home and I go out in the field sometimes and stuff, but I do insurance and she drives big trucks for a living.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. She drives big trucks and does construction
They
stuff.
do road construction.
Now we
Yeah.
know who wears the pants.
Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely.
So Jackie, I got a question for you.
Sure.
So, and this isn't work related; it's actually hobby related. So
Yeah.
when Anthony comes home with some new boxes, I saw like a short video or a video. I can't remember where I saw it, but putting the stuff on the front porch and you watching him through the camera,
ring
the ring
camera.
Yeah. So does he get a
Yeah.
hard time when he brings new boxes home?
Honestly, no, because
Okay.
it's a lot. Sometimes I'm just like, what is going on? Like
Yeah.
you have like 7 unopened boxes that
Yeah.
you haven't touched yet.
Yeah.
No, honestly, like he's really. I like this hobby. Before he got into this hobby, he was into cars. So I
Yeah.
would come home from work and there would just be cars in my driveway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy. So I am all about this. I love this.
Nice.
This is so much nicer than
Yeah.
actual vehicles just being like, I'd have to like park on the, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's like 4 cars in our driveway. We don't,
Yeah.
All in pieces or what?
Some of them.
Some of them,
Yeah.
some of them.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm like, oh, okay.
This is a lot cheaper too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine.
One plane for me is a couple $100. Coming
Yeah.
home with cars all the time.
Yeah, just don't get involved in jets. That'll change your perspective on that.
I one day, like I said, I need the space. I need the space to be able to get into them. But yeah, no. To her credit, though, she's been very supportive. And even though it looks like I
Try.
do spend a bunch on the hobby and stuff, well, the last year it's been about having enough stuff to drive content for the channel.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
So I want to make sure I can do that. It would be boring if I had one plane to open and unbox and build, right? So that's kind of it. And I'm gonna offload a bunch of them. But I paid probably for 60 or 70% of my stuff
Mhm.
by selling cars, selling tools. Like I never took any food out of my family's mouth for my hobby.
Yeah.
Up until
You're like really good about
recently, up until I could afford to actually really do that.
Yeah.
it was so crazy when we were younger, when we had the younger kids, like between the childcare and the preschool and everything else, it was a crazy amount of money. And it's like, I was lucky to build a little $100 drone. Like it was, I was scrimping and saving to just do that. So it's crazy how much it's grown in the matter of like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
And now she's helping me. Like, she gets the vision. We talked about this the other day, right? My vision, your vision is 2-3 years down the road to be able to kind of do this, full time, hopefully, right? Between the store, because I'm going to have a store soon too. But between the store, that's going to be a journey that we're a little nervous about, because we have
it's a fun one.
I'm not fully getting into details right now, but I have a big shipment coming over from China from a manufacturer. And first time I've ever done anything like this, don't know anything about it, and I'm throwing a Hail Mary pass, and I'm hoping it's going to work, But it's good. She's very supportive with it.
I'll try.
Yeah.
I like it. It's not bad. It's fun.
Yeah.
You
need to get that? You want me to pause it?
It's my other phone. You have to pause it for a second.
All right. So it's back on. So no, Jackie's been great. And a lot of the videos now with me flying, she's actually been filming a lot of the videos.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, she's actually really good at it. Except for when I fly into the sun.
Because it's annoying. You face directly towards the sun. I can't see anything, and you expect me to get good footage.
She was yelling at me. We went the other day.
I was yelling at because you don't listen.
I had a couple of maidens I had to do, and they were smaller ones, like I hand launch. Actually, a couple of them. I don't know if you've seen it. It's actually a pretty cool little wing. It's a dual EDF on the wingtips.
Oh, cool.
Banana Hobby has it. They're small little EDFs, but it's a flying wing, and they're on the wingtips. Yeah. It's a fast little plane, and it's pretty cool.
Are they 40 size EDFs?
They're
or something,
40 size EDFs on the wing. I have it actually right behind me. So it's twin EDFs.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So Katie, I don't know if you fully know, but everything that Anthony does is all FPV. There's a camera on there, and he's got goggles on.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he launches it, and he's flying through the cockpit seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd barf.
I'm in the plane.
Yeah.
No, we have a what is that thing?
The
VR goggles or whatever.
Thing or whatever.
Yeah, I was playing the game one time, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta sit down. That was it. No.
Yeah, I've gotten like that before. It takes a little bit to get used to.
Yeah.
But so it's white too. So the wind was coming at me, and I get to take off into the wind, and the sun is where the wind is, and she's so mad because every plane that day got launched into the wind and right into the sun, and you just hear her cursing.
Nice.
But that's the one thing. He's like, just watch the takeoff. Make sure you get. I'm like, I can't see anything.
And you can hear in the back in the video, like, God damn it, I lost it. God damn it. So funny. It's so funny. And I'm like, all right, I'm coming back and flying over. It's nice and slow. Try to pick it back up.
I know.
It's hard though. I get
frustrated
it. It's all right.
With you.
Do you have anything?
I feel
like
your
that?
pain. Yeah.
Good.
I come and film his maidens or.
I'm trying to edit the video afterwards. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even use this video footage. It's so bad.
It's not from mine. What?
That's it.
So when we're down in
recording the metal couches.
When we're down in Montana.
That's not what he said before. He's like, oh no, you're a better videographer than
I'm trying
the
to
other
be
guys.
nice, honey. Yeah, you are better than the other guys, but
see?
not me.
Yeah.
So we went down to Montana. I had a whole bunch of a slew of jets to do the maiden flights for. So obviously when I'm not flying, I'm videoing, but then the ones that I have to do the maiden flights on, Katie's videoing, and it's bouncing all over the place. I'm like, oh my god.
We're trying to keep it in view, and you're looking at a little screen like this.
When I'm recording, I'm smooth movements and
John,
the camera.
put the shovel down, buddy. Just put the shovel down.
It's hard. It is
she's good
hard.
No, it is.
It's
Uh,
But
frustrating.
it's helpful when you guys record. That's the thing. It's like if
Absolutely.
you're not there recording, then we can't record it. So
I
Well,
will
just put
say
a
that.
disclaimer on the video saying
it doesn't matter.
recorded
People
by.
don't listen or read that stuff.
I
So.
will say that most of the time Jackie gives me pretty good footage. The only thing I have to cut out is the F word. I missed it or I lost it, and I have to cut the audio out of those. Other than that, she does do a better job than like I will have. Sometimes I'll have friends at the field
Yeah.
and I'll be like, record this, and I get that footage where it's like
Yeah.
all over the place.
Delete. Yeah.
We were flying, and that's one of the cool things is I wish the kids got a little bit more into this. And I'm sure you feel the same way, right, with your
Yeah.
daughters. So I was at the field doing a maiden one day, and I had my daughter film like a maiden flight for me, right? And I'm like, I'm trying to involve her, like film this.
Yeah.
She films me for like 2 seconds launching it. Then it's like the grass, and then there's the dog over here.
Like it's just
And it's
everything
the
else.
plane flies by. She goes like that, and then back to the grass.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And I'm like, ah. And finally she's like, Mommy, you can hear it on the video. Can you come? I don't want to do this anymore. Like, can you take over?
Yeah, that sounds about normal and right. I understand for sure.
So,
I get it.
Katie, have you had anything crazy happen at the field or anything like that on any of those film days?
Huh.
Any like nerve-wracking or funny or?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I've caught crashes on film that is kind of like gut-wrenching and sickening, but
She was videoing the bull this
Oh,
beginning of
okay.
this year. So yeah, she was the one behind the camera when we did the bull flight. So
How do you
That sucked.
approach him after that?
Yeah.
Is it like? How do you approach him after that? Is it like comforting, or do you like
silence.
walk away for a
Silence.
few minutes?
Just-
And
I'll just
Yeah.
give you your time.
I will just be over here. Like, no, he needs his time to be like,
Frustrated?
well, yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Jackie was with me the day I was telling you about with the Corsair,
yeah.
when I decided to poke the clouds,
Yeah.
and I landed at a pretty bad spot where I probably shouldn't have landed. Like, it was a bad spot. This thing came down like really bad, like
So
really
you almost
bad.
hit the building.
Yeah.
That was fun.
And I'm like, get in the car right now.
That was it. I'm like playing with the kids in the field. He's like, get in the car now. Kids, stay here. And I'm like, what is going on?
Oh wow.
Yeah. I didn't want to get in trouble. It was bad. I would have gotten
Were you
trouble.
like going over to collect the plane? Is that what you're?
I
Yeah.
was going over to do damage
Fine.
assessment,
Yeah.
make sure I didn't hit anything. So
Any cars or anything?
I'm trying not to get
or
myself in too
windows?
much trouble, but
Yeah.
it landed in a parking lot, and the parking lot and area by the field that we kind of fly in, they're not like the
Mhm.
biggest fan of us to begin with.
Yeah.
And that would have been something that would have been like the
That
nail
would
in the
have ruined
coffin.
it, right?
Yeah.
They
Like,
would have been like, you
if they
can't
would have
fly here
found it,
anymore.
and I'm normally, like I said, I'm normally really conscious, and I try to be pretty, safe and not do anything really dumb. It was just I've been wanting this goal of flying through the clouds with FPV on for
Mhm.
the longest time, and it just doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
And I tried it, and it failed miserably. I lost one of my favorite planes. I thought it went through somebody's windshield or something. I was freaking out. It was
Yeah.
bad. It was bad. We were both in panic mode. It was. So if you had anything like that, because I do that stuff for her all the time. Like,
no, we don't have anything that exciting.
she always tells me like I could never get bored because it's always something.
It's always
exciting.
something with him. Always.
Always something exciting. Yeah. What about like I see like people posting all the time on like Facebook, like, models coming in, I gotta put these away before the wife comes home. John doesn't have to do that, right? You're pretty okay with everything that he has going on, right? I mean,
Yeah, I don't question it anymore.
yeah. Do you ever get surprised when you come home and there's like a new giant box, or you just roll with it? Like,
No, it's basically like FedEx is showing up today. Make sure that
I usually send
I'm
her my
getting a thing
list. I'm
from
like, hey, there's a
UPS. They
FedEx
watch out
shipment,
for-
yeah, DHL shipment, this shipment.
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me anymore at all. So
No, it's
I think
great.
the last one that pops into my head is before we moved into this house. So I guess it'd be like 3 years ago when my Huracan showed up. So 3 years ago. She had no idea it was coming. Russell, my friend, came over. We had like unboxed the Huracan. It was sitting in the garage, and this is like my old house where it's just a small garage, and we're only using half the garage. And the Huracan is huge, right? And she comes out and she's like, "Wow, that's massive. Whose is that?" It's like, "Oh, it's mine." "Oh, okay." And walks back in. Well, it looks good.
Oh
I
my
think
God.
you said something like that.
That's funny. I think that's one of your fears, right? Because they keep getting bigger.
It's just I'm waiting. I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Mine is slowly getting bigger. They're slowly starting to increase in size.
They're
I'm
so much
starting-
easier to fly when they're bigger.
could you get one that's like a jet?
So you're not actually allowed to put FPV in a turbine aircraft in Canada or US.
Is that true?
It is true, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean,
Really?
if people do it, sure, that's one thing, but yeah, you're not allowed to actually.
So that's actually interesting that you brought that up because I was watching another video the other day and somebody was ragging on somebody and they were like, "Do you even have a certification for a turbine?" And I didn't even know like you need to get a certification for a turbine. Like,
Yeah, for in the US, you need your turbine waiver. So
Okay.
there's multiple types of turbine waivers, but the normal one would be called a fixed wing, right? So that would be like a jet that uses a turbine. There's a different one for a turboprop, different one for a heli. So
what's the theory behind them not wanting FPV on them?
I don't know what I don't know what the issue is. I think there's a lot of those rules that are, I don't know if they're just old rules. Like another one that so many people have issues with is like fuel bags. So in Canada or the US, we're not allowed to use fuel bags. So like you think of like an IV bag, right? So over in Europe, they're extremely popular. They save weight. They actually your turbine runs better because they don't because it's a collapsible bag. As the fuel is being used, the bag is collapsing, right? So you don't get air.
Actual planes that use them.
Airplanes use fuel bladders. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those another one of those things that's not allowed, but it should be because they're actually probably safer than the fuel cells most of our planes use. So
I mean, I can kind of understand FPV on a jet because I mean, with some of the stuff, I mean, off the shelf components, I mean, just watching what's going on in Ukraine, they're using regular FPV drones. Like, if you put all that stuff in a jet, I mean, you basically have a guided missile.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with that too. Like, there's kind of two things that first come to my mind. Number one would be the weight of the aircraft, right? I mean, even the smallest turbine is going to weigh probably around 20 pounds,
Right.
You know, fully loaded. So, you know, is it going to cause more damage than like a foamy aircraft running into somebody? Probably. Both are going to hurt or cause damage, right? But probably the primary thing that I would think about is the amount of ground that gets covered in a quick amount of time, right? Like even a slow turbine aircraft, I mean, you're covering a lot of ground real fast.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah, I know it kind of makes sense. I guess.
mhm.
I don't know. I'm all about the FPV stuff because
Yeah, for sure.
that's
your thing, right? So
I've had this argument with some of the clubs, and it's like I almost, in a way, and I see both sides of the coin because I'm very open minded like that. I feel like FPV in a way can be safer than a regular line of sight plane because I'm in the plane and like if I'm headed towards a group of people, I'm in the plane. I can steer away from that. As to where a line of sight, you see the plane coming at you, you can kind of watch for that. And a good FPV pilot can kind of put the plane where they want. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm a pretty good FPV pilot for fixed wing now. I've gotten a lot better. One of my biggest things was landing and taking off FPV from like gear was hard. It's easy to do. throwing and belly landing.
Yeah.
But doing it with gear and landing on landing gear with
Yeah.
it's not easy because it's hard to gauge.
Well, yeah, you don't know when you're 2 feet above the ground or 10 feet, really, right?
Right. It's hard to gauge, but
Yeah.
I learned it. I can grease a landing now, with
Yeah.
gear. Not every landing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, not everyone.
A lot of them cartwheel and do head over heels and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know.
So Jackie, have you flown before, model stuff?
No.
No?
No.
Never thought about trying it?
No. I kind of have I love this for him. Like I love like it's awesome. When he goes and like spends the days at the field, like I'll meet him like halfway through. Just to, like hang out, say hi, like watching him fly. But no, I really kind of no interest whatsoever of doing it actually myself.
She's been under the goggles though.
I've seen the goggles. It's pretty cool.
Take her on what we call a ride along with a spare pair of goggles and
okay.
Like, that'd be cool.
So you guys are seeing the same thing at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. She's done that.
But other than that, no. I'll just go.
You like the boat?
I did. I like the boat. I think I like the boat better than the plane sometimes.
So I put FPV on a little speedboat.
Oh, cool.
And she really liked the boat. Like I wasn't expecting it, and it was pretty cool. Driving the boat FPV as well.
Yeah.
Just watching the waves go by, and you're like cooking on the water. And
nice.
She put the goggles on. She's like, "This is really cool." I'm like, "Yeah, the boat's awesome. This is awesome." But I do the same thing with my kids. I try to get them in the goggles, and they'll do a ride along. And
yeah.
We
got Katie a Carbon Cub, like a Hanger 9 Horizon Hobby Carbon Cub.
Okay.
Last year. Yeah, last year, and then she I'm looking at it right now in the background. She painted it all sparkly pink and yellow, and looks pretty cool.
It actually looks good in the air.
Yeah, it's very bright in the air. It's pretty neat. So
have you flown it?
Do you fly, Katie?
I've flown it once.
Yeah.
Okay.
She kind of learned to fly. It was an interesting acquisition because we got the plane and we started recording her. So she actually put the whole thing together herself.
Wow.
So she took it out of the box. I helped her, basically said, maybe do it this way. But we actually recorded that video and it's still sitting in my studio, like waiting to make a video series on it. But it was basically Katie's first plane, right? So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So she's flown it, but not a ton. So
buddy box or
the first time I actually just passed her the radio.
Okay.
She was flying it. I was kind of like standing beside her, like, no,
don't do this. Don't. He's like, give it back to me.
Well, we didn't have it set up in safe, right? So it was set up in like normal mode.
Right.
Normal assist. I don't know what it's called, but it wasn't set up in the safe mode. So, it was not easy to fly.
I'm kind of against safe because
me too, big time.
Right. I feel like it creates bad habits. And I'm going to get so much heat when this gets published for saying that. Because
I'm on the same boat, man.
There's a whole.
I get it.
Yeah.
Right.
But for me, like when I first flew last year, the one plane I flew my very first time in safe, and it was like, okay, I can do this. Like,
right.
This is,
and
then going and doing it without safe, I was like, oh my gosh, it's just...
And that's the problem is it's the transition. And that's probably exactly what you would say, Anthony, too. And I'm actually teaching. So Ward, who comes and helps me on Saturdays, usually here in the shop, he's in a lot of my videos. He's learning to fly. So we've been working with him for a couple of years. And so he's flying a little high wing, small little foamy plane. And he's been learning in safe. And the very last time we went flying this year, he accidentally on his radio without knowing, flicked the switch to take it off safe. So he took off, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but he's like taking off and the plane's going like towards the ground. And I'm like, just throttle up and let go. And he's like, I am. and the plane just kept going towards the ground, right? Because as soon as safe turns off, it doesn't autocorrect for you.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Right.
even if you know that it's off, it's a totally different experience of flying.
Well, I think you need to be more experienced. Like you
Yeah.
need to know which way goes which.
It's
and
not a
have
healthy
the-
transition in my
Right.
mind too. So
I'm all about having people start out on like a simulator. That's what I've been trying to do at the cave,
Yeah.
right? And learn orientation stuff from there. But it's even like in my world with the FPV wings, they put flight controllers on them. And same thing as you have gyros, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have flight controllers and stuff. And I see a lot of people in the Facebook groups and stuff like that starting out with auto launch, which basically auto launch is you shake the plane, it'll spin the prop up and you throw it and it'll put the plane in the air for you. It'll put the plane in the air for you. And then they have automatic flight controls where you can flip a switch and it'll loiter or not loiter, but like keep the plane level for you. So there's very little input that you have to do as a pilot.
Yeah.
And I'm against all of those modes. I don't use any of them. I want to launch in manual, right? I want to know if there's an issue with my plane. I want to know what it is, right? First of all, right? Because if you throw a plane in the air and it doesn't fly right off the bat, there's something wrong with it. Either the control surfaces need to be adjusted, something, right? And I feel like you're not building your skill as a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people I fly with have all these flight controllers and stuff. I have a receiver. It's got no gyro. It's got nothing. I don't even have a lot of my planes. I don't even have battery monitoring voltage on it. So I have to kind of gauge how long I've been in the air for. That's failed miserably for me once or twice where I've ran out of battery and the thing comes crashing to the ground. But that's what I said. Like I could go to the field with 10 planes. She'll know when I have a good day or not. Like when I come home and I'm happy, that means like I came home with most of the planes. I come home not happy.
Everything needs to be fixed.
And there's just boxes of parts coming in the mail. That's it. Plane parts.
That's it.
Plane parts. They're all plane parts. But yeah, I think people need to learn how to fly first, and then if you want to use those modes, but you got to learn how to fly.
And it's different. So in our world, it's not flight controllers, it's gyros, right? Which is obviously similar,
right?
Thing, but, there's a lot of guys in the jet world, and it's been quite a conversion over the past 8 years. But I remember putting the first gyro in my plane like back in 2012, and there's lots of guys over the past 8 years that have been like, "Oh, I would never fly with a gyro. It's just a terrible thing." And I mean, I can fly any of my planes without a gyro, but I tell you, when I come in for a landing and that gyro is turned on, and the gain's maxed way up, and you're coming in and your plane is rock solid, it makes all the difference in the world getting that thing off the ground. So,
yeah, like I said, I believe there's times where they're good. And listen, for instance, like with flying with FPV, if you have an issue with your video or something, and being able to just grab a switch and have the plane level out, there's absolutely a use for it, right? But I think you also need to learn how to fly.
For sure.
And I try to teach everybody, don't fly with that stuff. Just fly in manual, and then play with
Used to the plane,
right. And crashing is part of it. Your crashes are way more expensive than mine. And crashes are a part of it. So I'm just looking at one of these questions here from AI, and I actually think this is pretty funny. So, Katie and Jackie, you guys can answer this one. What's the funniest argument you've had over his RC aviation hobby? Any funny arguments? Anything where me and Jackie have had a bunch of them because of the compromises, right? Like a box will come in and I'll be like, whatever, clear your card on Amazon. I don't know. I think that's a pretty cool question. Have you had any situations like that where you've had a funny argument?
That's your question, not mine.
I don't know.
What are we doing with this giant plane? Or actually, you know what? In that L-39 video, that was funny, right? John was talking about the price of it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like, so this basically is the same price as a car, and he's like, yeah, but this is much cooler. Like,
Yeah.
that was a funny argument. I laughed.
Oh, I mean, I know how much they cost now,
Yeah.
so that
I-
part, and it's been gradual over the years. So it's like, oh, it's only, this one's only a couple $1,000s, and then this one's like, oh no, it's like $10,000, and then this one's like,
No.
Yeah.
and then
I
this
guess-
one's the price of a car
One of the big
that
differences
you can't get insurance on.
Yeah, one of the big differences I think too between me and you and what you do is most of my stuff, like I don't know how many planes are in here right now, but like let's just say 15 planes, like 3 of them are mine, right?
Right.
So
Right.
so much of what I do is for other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Versus like if I didn't have any customers that I was doing builds for, like it would look pretty sparse in here.
So talk about that, Katie. Is that because I think she would have a heart attack knowing like how much I crash and stuff. Does that ever like that part of it ever concern? Because I mean, he's flying expensive like thousands of dollars in the air. Like that's
Yeah. It I don't know. It makes me ill sometimes. I'm like, no, just the thought of it, like when any of the guys are flying out there, you're just like, ooh.
right. Right.
But it's the part of the hobby, right? You have to
Yeah.
be okay if something happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He's had a couple of crashes. Like, how do you feel about that when he comes home and he crashed the couple $1,000 jet? I mean, it can be a great conversation,
I
night, right?
mean-
Like,
it's not my money. But I mean, when we went down to Kentucky Jets, that's where we saw the bull for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I'm not really like, I don't hold him back.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Very true.
that is a cool plane. Like, you should get that.
Yeah.
I more talk him into
Yeah.
like, get that one. That's awesome. Like, look at that.
Yeah.
So I'm probably not.
yeah, she's
not
like that
necessarily-
too.
But, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, she's like
I
that
love
too,
it.
where she'll like a couple of different planes. Like, oh, that's a nice plane. Like, I like that, or yeah, that's a cool plane. You should get that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
And it's good
Or
that
don't
you
buy
guys.
that because you already have that.
Yeah, don't buy that. You have 2 of those. Why do you need that
Yeah.
one? I understand.
I
the
have
color.
I have asked the question, like, you can only fly one. Like, why do you need so many?
What?
Yes, I've asked that.
Have
Come
you
on.
looked behind?
Like I said,
Yeah.
like,
You
it's-
Look at the background there.
it's like, and then he still has some more in boxes, and then more comes, and I'm like, I just I don't get it. You can only do one at a time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't explain it. I don't know. I like the building part of it. I like most of my planes are like warbirds from World War II. I like the history behind them. It's almost like having models as a kid that you got to put together, like models of
Yeah.
a car.
Yeah.
It's a good
But
analogy for sure.
Right. But
Yes.
instead, like, I get to put this model together, but then I also get to take it out and fly it.
Yeah.
And when I fly something cool at the field, a lot of people watch and like, wow, that's cool. Like, there's a
Yeah.
World War II Corsair flying around doing loops. And then when they find out that not only am I flying it, but I'm flying it inside the cockpit of the plane, they're like, oh, that's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I like it. That's kind of what it's about. You know.
So Anthony, when you're flying FPV, so is it set up so you just have a forward view, or when you turn you can turn and see different directions?
So a bunch of my planes, just because they kind of have small cockpits, I have just a forward view. There's other planes. What I have is I've obviously I'm into 3D printing just like you. I think at this point in this hobby, if you're really going to be in this hobby, you have to have a 3D printer and kind of be because you need it. Like, so I made my own pan tilt system, and now I have it set up to where it's got a head tracking module on my goggles. So now if I turn my head like this, the camera will move with my head through the
Very
controller.
cool.
Yeah. So the goggles plug into the head tracker unit, plugs into the remote.
Yeah.
And then that sends it's a channel basically.
Yeah.
So it'll be channel 9 and 10 will be pan and tilt. and I can turn my head like that, and the camera inside the cockpit will move around.
And is it just as responsive as like a servo on the plane would be? Like it's that
Absolutely.
quick?
Absolutely.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how
I-
fast do they go? With the,
The planes wise?
yeah.
So I have a couple of planes that'll break 100, 120, 130. I have a couple planes that are fast. Not his kind of fast, obviously, but fast enough for me. I'm more of I love being up in the air. So I'm more of a get up high and kind of just take in the world kind of flyer. I do like doing some loops and stuff like that, but I just like being up there. It's just it gives you flying FPV for me. This is just my opinion. It just gives you the perspective of almost being like a bird.
Yeah.
Like you just get to see, like, it's wild. Like, especially some of the places we fly, you see the cars on the highway driving, and it's a different perspective. It's a different feeling. It's
That's cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I mean, you put GoPros inside your planes, right? And you watch the footage afterwards. It's cool footage. It
is, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's,
I get that.
But not as cool as like being in the moment.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
We're gonna have to start working on that FPV and the jet regulation somehow.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to make that work. I mean, I guess it would be all right.
Possible.
I wonder. I mean, I guess it'd be all right if you put the FPV setup in the jet, but you're still flying at line of sight, and you just have somebody passenger.
Exactly. Yeah, for somebody just to get that experience. Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay, you totally need to do that.
Yeah,
that is cool.
I've been listen. You can ask him. There's been like 30 of his videos where I'm like, you need to put an FPV setup in one of these planes. I've been telling him forever. Like,
he's the guy that's always been saying it.
You got to do that, and then you can record me in there. It'll be a funny video.
Katie barfed on the side of the flight line.
You're like, what's wrong with her?
She'll get past it. She'll get past the northern part. That's fine.
Oh,
yeah. It would be.
Cool. No, you totally need to do that.
It would be an awesome experience. Really cool. You could probably. You have a GoPro, right?
Yeah.
You could probably do GoPro like live view. I don't know how far the reception is on that. I know the GoPro have that.
Mine's super old, so it's pretty crappy, but.
I'm sure you could do it, or even like an Instant 360 or something, where you could put it in the cockpit and then get like a Wi-Fi video to the phone and watch it that way and have it kind of real time.
Yeah,
there's a thought.
How much does like the actual FPV? How much is the actual camera and like let's say the goggles and all of that?
I fly. I'll get a lot of heat for this too. So I still fly what we call analog. Analog. I do fly digital, some digital. Analog's cheap. For me, I can do a setup. For $50, I could have a video and a transmitter on my plane. You're talking about like $200-$300 for a pair of goggles if you're doing analog. Now, if you get into digital, that price goes to $200 per plane and then a little bit more for the goggles. That's why I'm still in analog. I fly so high that I get clear video. As long as you're good using good analog stuff, I get pretty clear video. And I'm so high in the air that even with digital, I'm just going to see sky and, everything from a top view. I'm not flying through trees and stuff where I need that real detail. So for me, I have so many planes and I build so many planes that I can't spend $200 a plane on video. It's just not economically feasible for me, right? So I get used cameras, used stuff offline from people who are not flying analog, and I put those on planes. Some of my setups on my planes are $25-$35. They're not expensive.
Wow.
So you could do it fairly cheap if you really wanted to. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, you were talking about, Katie, the price of some of these planes, right? John, I was thinking about this. What is the most expensive plane you've ever gotten to fly, or somebody next to you has gotten to fly?
Or build.
Build wise is probably the SU that I'm working on right now is probably going to be the most expensive plane to date. That one total done with like everything on the plane, you're probably about 35 to 40,000 in that range.
Okay.
The F-14 that we made last year.
Yeah.
That
Gorgeous
would have
plane.
been about probably like 35, 40 as well. When you're buying these expensive kits, like the SU kit as an example, it ends up being about 20,000 landed to
Wow.
here, right?
Okay.
So it's like
I know.
a lot of people look online like, oh, the SU-30 is only a $5,000 kit. Well, yeah, it's a $5,000 shell, and then you spend another $6,000 on the landing gear, and then you have to buy 2 pipes, which is $500, tanks, which is $500, vectored nozzles, which is $1,000 or $1,600. Like it's just that $5,000 really is 20 and then you have to pay thousands of dollars in shipping. So yeah, the SU's probably been the most expensive plane I've worked on. And there's been a lot of, like, before that one, like the L-39 as an example, the very first plane I ever did. I mean, that one's, you're about 25,000 to put that together. And a lot of people will scoff at those numbers that I'm giving. Well, if you buy the L-39, it's like a $16,000 US kit.
Right.
And guys are looking at it and saying, well, I can build it for 19,000. Okay, well, that's fine, but we build everything brand new, right? So
Right.
we're putting new turbines in, all new servos. You're spending $2,500 on servos, right? So we don't skimp anywhere. So but yeah, those are kind of the expensive ones. They get up there.
That's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
Do you have a heart attack when you have to, obviously if you're building it, you have to maiden it to test it and make sure everything's right, or do you let the customer do that?
Not always. Lately with most of my builds, it's been so my customer that I'm doing most of my builds for, he's got a pilot that does his maidens for him. He's a very competent pilot, been doing this he bought one of the first turbines that ever came in North America. He's been doing this a long time. But his test pilot, his name's Coco. Coco is an amazing pilot, and they jive really well together. They fly constantly together at the same field, so they have a good relationship that way. So Coco does the maiden for David. Usually maybe a follow-up flight, gets everything kind of set up, and then he's good to go. So
wow.
Some of my customers I'll do the maiden for, but lately not.
I would have a heart attack. I would have a heart
Well,
attack. Flying $40,000 in the air is
and that's something you really can't think about. One of my friends that I've been working with for a couple of years to get flying his jets, and lots of people suffer with this. If you're flying the money, you're not going to fly the money well. If you're just flying the plane, it's going to, like the big SU, it flies so easy. Yes, it's a $40,000 plane, but it's such an easy flyer that if you just fly the plane, it's way too easy to fly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But if you're up there thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm flying $40,000," it's like, yeah. When you're landing, it's going to be doing this with you. So,
all right, babe. So we're gonna sell everything.
That's what we're getting into.
But you don't start with the SU. That's a big
including a kidney. Sell it all. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Like I've become quite complacent to it.
Yeah.
Like people are like, "Oh my gosh, you got an SU that you're working on." I'm like, yeah, it's super cool. Like when I stand back and think about it, like all the planes that are in here right now, it's absolutely mind blowing. But you do become complacent to it.
So now, anytime a plane comes home, I'm just gonna be like, at least it's not $40K.
I know that's exactly what you're gonna say.
You're helping me out, buddy. You're helping me out.
No That's problem. I gotcha.
Every time. At least it's not $40K. Tom, this is it. Good. Golden parachute. Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much covered a lot of stuff, right? I mean, are you guys good?
Ladies, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel
So every time a box shows up at the house.
No. We're not doing that.
Wait, what did you say?
So for every box that shows up at the house,
I'll
I get to order something on Amazon.
I'll put
here's the reason.
You can work it out.
Most of the stuff that shows up at the house isn't mine, so I have an easy out on that.
You gotta start doing inventory,
You
see
know.
what's his,
Yeah.
what's not.
Yeah, that's what he
It's
says.
like
Most
Peter
of it's
for
not
helping
mine.
you out.
Yeah, that's a lot of Amazon. Like you would get a lot of Amazon. Like I try to like level it
We
out.
already
Like,
do get a lot of Amazon.
We get a ton of Amazon. Our daughters
Oh my gosh.
know how to order on the Amazon account. So
I try
I'm
to do
dreading
like
the day for when our kids
Oh my
actually
God.
learn.
they
how
right
to do
now
that
they ask
stuff.
us for stuff all the time.
I know, but
Oh,
But I try
yeah.
to level it
Yeah.
out. So like 250 on a plane is like 100 on Amazon.
Yeah.
John, for you, that would hurt, buddy. I gotta tell you.
it's like
would
a
add up
vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. So where is there anywhere that you would hope that John will go in his travels? Is there anywhere you want to go that you would think would be a cool flying spot for him, but a good spot for you, Katie?
So he's got a client or somebody he's talking to in Dubai
Oh,
Wow.
that would be amazing. And I'm like, you're not going unless
Yeah.
I go with you.
That's usually the thing she always
That's the
throws in
caveat
there. Yeah.
that if you want to go, I'm coming
I have
with you.
Yeah. We need 2 tickets.
well, there's a lot of benefits to that. You know, you have somebody to help
There
you
is.
film,
Can you
and
start traveling?
I'm not. I got to start building $40,000 jet. So we'll start
And-
cracking on
and-
that.
You just can't start traveling.
Right. I got to start
And
doing
rightfully so. Like, I'm a happier person, and this is going to get a little mushy, but I'm a happier person when she's with me, right? Like if I go
Absolutely.
down to Montana, I went there 2 years ago and I was by myself, and it's fine, but I would much rather have her with me
Right.
because I feel like my home is still with me, right?
that.
So
and
it's
I'm like, I
it's
didn't
a better
do anything.
feeling.
He's like, but you were just there.
Exactly,
You
yeah.
were just there.
We
I-
actually, and that's a conversation we had. So
I get it, because the days that she does show up to the field when I'm like flying,
yeah,
I'm like awesome. Like she's here,
Exactly.
I'm happy. Like
Yeah.
it's and the kids too. Like, you know, the kids
Oh,
are running
yeah,
around.
and them.
But yeah, I understand that absolutely. And I've
and
like I
it's fun
said,
to share those things too. I think like
Oh,
traveling
absolutely.
wise, you know.
absolutely. And
No,
you know,
I like-
she's like I
I-
said, she's come on me on a couple of pretty cool missions.
Yeah.
You know, and we got to do some pretty cool stuff. And
Space flights.
yeah, I think that's a
You
cool part
know.
of it. I want to go to I want to do Iceland. I
Nice.
would
That'd
love
be
to
fun.
fly an FPV plane, fixed wing, that did some kind of distance over Iceland.
That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think Iceland is just a gorgeous. I keep telling you about Iceland.
I know you do.
Iceland is
You're gonna put this in all of your jets now,
What? Oh,
The
the FPV
FPV.
stuff, yeah.
and I'll come and just like watch.
Iceland.
That-
She's all about it.
You-
That's it.
it's-
I finally get my dream of FPV in a jet. Yes,
Yeah.
finally.
And I agree. That would be pretty cool just to be like if I'm flying at the field and you're like looking to the
Or just
left and the
being like,
right. Yeah, that'd be
"Holy."
pretty sweet.
I can send you the CAD files for the. I can send you the STLs for the
Man,
gimbal.
that
Yeah,
would
if
be
you would
awesome.
send me the list of like a
Couple
What
of
you
9
need to
gram
edit it,
servos,
yeah.
cheap
yeah,
servos.
like a digital setup that would be reasonable. I would actually
Yeah.
I would entertain. putting that in.
I'm telling you, you don't even have to go digital. If you want to, if you can. If you're not going to fly yourself, I would just go analog.
Okay.
It's so. I'm going to get a lot of heat for it, but I've had.
You get a lot of heat for a lot of stuff.
I
huh?
do. I got
I've been
heat.
hearing that a lot.
I got
lately.
heat in one of my videos earlier. I got comments
You
about
can't
how I
please
did
everybody.
No.
I got comments earlier about how I did something wrong and how I shouldn't have done something on a plane, and I'm just like, all right, do it the way I want to do it.
Right.
Yep.
But like I said, when you're, especially with the jets, right? When you're up there, there is a difference between the analog and the digital, right?
Yeah.
And it really serves a purpose on like FPV drones that are, you know, diving through gates or flying through trees and stuff like that. But when you're that high, if you have a good analog setup,
Yeah.
it's not like going from a tube TV to a flat screen.
Yeah.
It's like almost going from a plasma to an LED. Like it's not
Wow.
like a huge
Yeah.
difference. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I'd be curious to know if there would be any interference with the turbines, because I have that sometimes when I do like my test videos of my
Mhm.
turbine setups. where I've got my gimbal camera, my DJI Osmo Pocket, and it goes bananas when I start adding, and it's like 6 feet away, and just the frequency coming off the turbine makes it go nuts.
So you'd probably be better with analog because of that, because
Okay.
analog runs on 5.8.
Oh, okay.
And not 2.4, because most digital
Mhm.
runs on 2.4, which
Okay.
is the same thing your Osmo Pocket's running on. That's the typical Wi-Fi frequency is 2.4.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'd probably be better off running on analog. And
Yeah.
analog's been around for so long. Like
Yeah.
it originally, how FPV started out, guys back in like 2010 were taking the little cameras, the security cameras,
Okay.
or like the baby monitor cameras that ran off
Yeah.
of a 5.8 signal, and they were putting those on planes, and that's how it started, with like a
Yeah.
monitor that they were like gluing to their heads. It was wild. The early days of FPV are crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much better now than it was. But yeah, you'd probably be better off with analog, so there wouldn't be any interference.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of the world's gone
Excited.
digital.
That's cool.
She's all about it.
She wants
She's
it.
all about it.
It's gonna have your hand
love
on
it.
all
I
of your
like it.
planes now.
Well, the Super Line is a perfect candidate
Oh,
for
yeah,
it, right?
it's-
Because it's
I did it to you.
Nez
Yeah.
is flying Super Line. We can
Yeah.
change that.
Jet.
I finally got FPV in a jet. I still think it's even for your viewers, and I've seen you've posted like a couple of videos with the GoPros from inside the
Yeah.
plane. I think I watched a video of yours, the Snowbird video, where you had a flame
Yeah.
out, and there was a camera in that one, which great
Yeah.
save, by the way. That was pretty cool. Yeah,
Thanks.
his plane basically, the motor died at middle of the air, and he glided it back down and landed it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it would have been in a million pieces if that was me.
Oh, 100%.
I would have
100%.
freaked out, and
Yes.
it would have exploded.
So can you record what you're seeing on the
Yeah.
Yeah.
like somehow so that you can just have
You
that
can use
footage?
the footage, yeah.
Oh, that's
So actually, Katie, ask John to show you, or I can email it to you. But I put up a short, I don't know, it's a minute video on TikTok of my 251 Mustang and what I see from the inside of it, and you can see what it's like. And that's an analog feed too. And you lose a little bit. The video degrades a little bit when you do record from the goggles. So it's actually, what I see is actually a little bit even clearer than that. And that's what I'm talking about, John. If you watch that video, that's a good analog setup.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. It's
Yeah.
pretty clear. You know.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that she's all about it.
Yeah, totally.
You really
I
are.
really am. It's great. I think it's
it is. That's super cool.
it is.
No, it is. It really is.
Yeah, and that's kind of
Oh
what
my-
sets me apart. That's why I started my channel too, because I was getting a lot of questions about it.
Mhm.
And my wife also was a driver behind it. She was also telling me, you should do this too. I'm different than a lot of, I play with a lot of the same planes that a lot of the regular RC airplane guys do, right? But then I'm going ahead and putting FPV setups in there.
Yeah.
And that's what differentiates me. And I'm not your typical drone guy, right? Like I'm more of a fixed wing, a plane guy. So that's kind of why I created, and I'm hoping to fill that niche between all the regular RC plane guys and the regular drone guys, because in the fixed wing world, for what we do, the smaller planes, there are specific FPV planes that are made for FPV.
Yes.
Right. I'm kind of one of the first people who really started putting, FPV into like E-flight planes.
Mhm.
Like I've been doing
anything basically.
anything.
Yeah.
I've been doing this now for 4 years, 5 years. I've been putting FPV into regular planes.
Yeah.
So, and it's cool. It's definitely cool.
Yeah.
I have a couple of warbirds where you see the prop. Like not only you're looking out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like not only you're looking out through the cockpit and the dashboard and
You see
everything,
everything. Yeah.
you see the prop. So, and I have one plane that I put a little gauge battery monitor on there. So not only can I turn my head, I can see the faux gauges on the inside of the cockpit, and I can look out the windows, but I could also read a little battery indicator that's reading 14 volts, 15 volts, whatever it is. So
Wow.
I have ideas where I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to do some pretty cool stuff with it. Like ideal goal, and this is crazy, but I want to make a chair that you kind of sit into and has rudder pedals and a joystick and a
Oh, like the full experience.
full
Yeah.
experience. But then also the plane is going to have like real gauges in it that give you readout.
Yeah.
And she's just cringing right now because she knows that this is probably going to be a reality at some point. I have a chair I have to lug to the field.
It will be.
Yeah. I actually just put FPV on my son's RC car, and that's cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. So,
Crazy.
yeah. I think we're going to wrap up, right?
Sounds good.
I think this was great. I want to thank you, Katie and Jackie, for joining.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you, ladies.
Second episode. Thank you also for supporting our crazy asses on doing all this stuff, because it's a lot of times for me, at least. It's definitely a lot, and I'm sure, Katie, it's a lot for you at times.
Definitely. Never a dull moment with you.
No.
Thanks for supporting the dream. It's great having you on. And maybe you'll be on in a future episode. Wives of RC 2 years from now, part 2.
Part 2. Where are they now?
Sleeping on the couch.
Still.
Are we safe? Are we safe tonight?
You're right.
Nice. I don't know about John. He was talking about the shaky footage.
Yeah.
That's it.
All
right.
You were good.
Thanks,
Awesome.
guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Thank you to all the viewers.
Yes. And please stay tuned. Right, John? What are we doing next? Have we decided?
Next is going to be, it's either going to be Steve from FR Sky, right?
Right.
Or Greg and Jenny from Boomerang Jets. We'll have to see who we can nail down next. So,
right.
That's going to be our next one.
Yep. And then we're going to have some great stuff coming out. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, guys.
I love this.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
it's good. I thought I had the feeling after the first episode. I was like, this was cool. It's good.
Yeah, it is good. It's fun.
I think people are gonna like it. So thanks for everybody who's watching. All right, guys. Have a great night.
Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.